Networking, your greatest asset. Today I'll continue to teach you people skills, but if you don't yet know about the importance of people skills, make sure to watch my previous video for more information on this. So networking online, I know that this is a pain point for many of you, and that's why I'm making this video about that. But before we get into the topic of today's video, can I ask you a favor? Over 90% of you who are watching this video are not subscribed, which boggles my mind. So I'm gonna make you a promise. If you subscribe to this channel, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make these videos just more valuable and better for you. Do we have a deal? Okay, let's get into the video. Before we get to the 10 secrets that I'm gonna be covering today, I want to tell you fast, just very briefly, like why am I qualified to teach you this. So I was extremely shy as a kid, and I just couldn't go to people to talk. I barely could even talk to my relatives. Like, I was that anxious on doing that. And now then I want to be successful, so I needed to learn how do I network, both in real life but also then like online. And then I studied and obsessed about this topic, and now I've been able to network with some of the most coolest people ever, like in my opinion, like some of the biggest artists in the whole Web3 space, many art collectors, curators, you name it. And I believe that this is just the start. And you can do the same and more with the skills I'm gonna be laying out here. So here are the 10 secrets you need to network online the best way. 1. Boost their dopamine. So this is the main thing that you want to do whether you are networking in real life or online. Basically, the better you make them feel when you are spending time with them, the more they want to spend time with you. They have made an association. Spend time with X person equals to feeling good. We humans want dopamine so desperately. There are a ton of different kind of studies about this, and you can see this in our behavior. Most people spend way too much time scrolling on their phones. Most people eat way too unhealthy food to get a short-term dopamine boost. And most people are fascinated by the idea of gambling, which boosts your dopamine as well. When you make a person feel good, they are way more likely to remember you, and that's what you of course want. Now, what are good ways to raise their dopamine levels? 2. Say their names. People love hearing their names. I mean, don't you love hearing your name? Our names are special to us, and you might not hear your name that often when you interact with another person, especially if it's indeed your friend. They might be calling you a bro or a sis or a mate or whatever. You might not hear your name exactly. You can call somebody a mate or a bro or a sis, like whatever, but when you're networking, make sure to use their name. Not all the time. There is a point where it goes too much, but like at the start of conversation, say their name back. And then at the end of the conversation, say their name back. Hey, it was nice to meet you. And then insert their name. When doing this online, it is much harder to say their name too much. When you're doing a basic comment, you can pretty much always just call them by their name. But if you're doing like writing a longer text to them, don't mention their name like every sentence you're of course writing. Then it's way too much. Now some examples. When I say good morning on X, I say good morning and then I insert their name. This not only prevents me from getting shadow banned, but then it also gives them that dopamine boost, and it also shows that I have taken effort to watching like what's their account name if I haven't interacted with them before. Most do not do this. They do not put that extra effort in, and that's how you actually stand out from the crowd, and you make super fans, and you make a community around you. You can easily insert their name when you're thanking them, complimenting them. Maybe they're an artist and you like their art, or then when you're saying hi or bye to them on social media or in the DMs. The takeaway, say their name back. Now, how do you consistently connect with the people you want to be connected to on social media? That's our next step. 3. Don't be too repetitive. When you're trying to get somebody's attention, you must be able to stand out from the crowd. Of course. Let's say the person who you want to network with has over 50,000 followers on X. So what this means is that they most likely have quite many comments if they aren't a bot, right? And they most likely have a lot of similar comments. For example, if they are in the NFT space, if they say GM, good morning, then people are going to be replying GM, 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 GM. So if you are one of these who GM back, then you are not likely to stand out only with your GM. However, if you are unique with your comment, then you can stand out. Sure, if you're consistent with your GMs, you might be getting noticed in the NFT space by someone who has a lot of followers, but only if you're consistent for a very, very, very long time. I'm talking like months or years. Famous people are of course busy, and whether they are in the NFT space or not. And what this means is that they don't have all day long to go through their notifications. And I know that many collectors in the NFT space, they do not check their notifications pretty much at all. But when they do, if you say GM, they are not gonna care about your GM. This is why you want to stand out with your comment. So now let's say there's a big and famous art collector who has a ton of followers, and they post an art piece along with their good morning to it. What most people do is they say good morning back. That's the most natural thing to do and doesn't require much effort. However, what if you would look at the art piece itself and you would say like, oh, I like those blues a lot, especially the hue of the blues, and they remind me of the times when I was at the Maldives with my family and kids. And then you say an amazing pic, and then you say their name. This way you are not repetitive and stand out. 2, compliment them, which boosts their dopamine, and 3, you mention their name, that boosts their dopamine further. So let me tell you another example from NFT Paris 2023. So I was there, and then I got to know this guy, Felix. I wasn't expecting anything or that this would be a special conversation. I thought it would be just a normal one that I had with many people at the event. However, he proved me wrong. We talked about all kinds of stuff, and then he said something very interesting to me when we were talking about how it is very difficult to remember people's names. We found a thing that connects us both, and then he said a solution, what he does, and he connected the dots for me, which was like gave me a huge dopamine boost. And that's why I remembered him and still remember him like very well out of like everybody I met there. So basically what he said was, Hugo, think about the person's name you are interacting with and then connect that with something very funny. So then what I was thinking, like, okay, Felix, and in Finland we have a ketchup called Felix. So then I connected those two, and then I imagined Felix as a ketchup bottle. Silly, I know, but it worked, and this thing made me laugh over on myself. It boosted my dopamine. What made the biggest difference is that he said something that most people do not say to me, which was this trick in imagining and connecting these two things together, like Felix and Felix ketchup bottle. He connected the dots for me, and I felt amazing because of that. This again applies to all networking. Stand out when you are commenting, or whether you are in real life, say something that most people don't say, or when you are commenting online, comment something that most people do not comment. Stand out, say things others don't, boost their dopamine. And be consistent. 4. Be consistent, and how to do that the most easily. Show up consistently to talk with this person that you want to network with. If you comment once in a month of them, they are not likely to remember you or even notice you, unless your comment is very different. But the feed on X and other platforms is a mess, so you should not rely on this. This is what I do to engage consistently with the people I want. 1. Have notifications on. I want to make this very clear. I want that you have notifications on for the people in app on X, but do not have them on for your entire phone. I hate notifications. I can't imagine how can people stay focused when they are bombarded with the notifications. But people keep them on because they are getting dopamine when they get a like or a comment or a follow on their social medias. So that's how most humans are. So I'd absolutely recommend to have them off. And I love how X has it. Now this part is just for X, but I'm gonna go into Instagram and other platforms in a second. You can enable people's notifications, but they will not pop up when you are not in app. Let me explain. This is how the top of my notifications tab looks like on X. This is a list of accounts I have notifications on for, and whenever they tweet, then I can find out what they have tweeted by clicking on this highlighted area. So how to do this? 1. Enable notifications for people in app while having notifications on for your entire app. 2. When you're done, switch notifications off for X in your phone settings, and you're done. It's that simple. And repeat this process whenever you want to add somebody to your notification list. I find this to be a total game changer. Now step 2, lists. First I'm gonna go through X, and then I'm gonna go through Instagram lists. So what is a list on X? A list on X has tweets from people that you have selected to be on that list. You can follow lists made also by other people, but you can also make your own. And this is what I do. I have loads of lists, probably 5 to 8, I must admit. Do I use all of them? I don't, but I kinda use like 5 very actively. And this is because you can pin 5 lists to be next to For You and Following tabs. Let me give you a sneak peek of my lists that I have not shared anywhere before. So, my lists. 1. The people I want to engage with, the largest list. 2. Risers, people who could boost my carry loads. 3. Collab, people I want to collab later on. 4. Noble, as I want to be part of them, this is like an art project. And 5. Collectors. Here I have everybody organized accordingly. And sure, some people might overlap to many different lists. No longer do I need to wonder am I gonna see their tweets because of the algorithm, because now they are on my list. In Instagram you can't have many different lists, but you do have a favorites list. So you can go here, put the 3 lines you have when you are in your profile, and then click on that, and then go to favorites, and then you can over there add people to your favorites, and you're basically done. And then you can access your favorites by going here. Now that you're doing all of these steps, the next step is extremely crucial. 5. Have a good looking profile. Ask yourself, does my profile look like it could have 1 million followers? If it doesn't, it needs changing. The text that you have on your profile, your bio, matters because that's one of the first things somebody will see about you. This is how my bio currently looks on X. It says my age, I'm a photographer, and that I help creatives achieve their full potential, plus I mentioned I was part of the 652 memes, which adds more authority. What should you include? To be honest, there are many different ways you can go about this, but the main thing you need to ask yourself, could this profile of mine have 1 million followers based on how my profile looks? Only and only you will know how that looks for you. If you like ideas, make sure to go and watch other people's profiles for some inspiration, like my profile. Next up, your profile picture. This is so important, but it partly pisses me off because most people do not take this seriously. They have a terrible photo of themselves, or maybe not a photo of themselves at all. Now, if you are in the NFT space and you want to remain completely anonymous, then that's totally fine. As long as the profile picture is high quality, that's what matters. Most people have very poor photos as profile pictures. They might have a bad quality selfie about themselves. But what kind of image does that give of you? If you're one of those, don't be one of those and change that. Why? Is it professional to have a poor quality selfie as your profile picture? Could a profile like that have 1 million followers? Unlikely, unless you are a big actor or something. Ask yourself, does my profile picture look professional, and or is it high quality? That's what matters. 6. Send the person you want to network with something that reminds you of them. Do not underestimate this point. This can create such a strong bond with you two. But this does not work the best way immediately at the start when you have not connected at all. If you don't follow each other, this is much harder to do, but you can do this same thing in comments. But you'd ideally want to do this in DMs once you both are following each other. For example, I joked with a friend of mine, Texels, on X that he had taken like a drone shot, like when the drone was literally on the ground. And I found it so surprising, I had no clue that that would be a drone shot. And then, a month or 2 later, I sent him a drone shot, a similar that I had made. And then we had a joke about that, and that thing connected us better together. So what could you do? You could send information you think they could find helpful, send a pic from your travels you talked about, send a picture of dogs, if you both like dogs. It can be basically anything. Just think like, would they find this very funny or helpful in some way? And if yes, then share it with them. Sharing bonds you together. 7. Make a thread about them or mention them in one. So this can be done on X or then on Threads. This requires quite a lot of work, but this way you actually stand out. Let's say you admire an artist and you just love their work, you're obsessed with it, but you haven't connected with that artist yet. So maybe you go ahead and you analyze their work. Maybe you make a thread on analyzing their work, and you make it unique what you find interesting about their work. You don't need to be an art expert in this example now, but you just show and tell others, your audience, what did you like about that piece or these pieces overall, and of course tag them in the post. This way they are actually much more likely to notice you, and they appreciate that you made this kind of an effort, because 99.9% of people do not make threads about them. And attention is power. When you do one comment under an artist's post, it can be seen, right? But it will be fast scrolled by. But if you make a thread, people must pay more in attention in order to read through what you have to say, and when they have paid more attention to it, then they're more likely to remember you for that thing. The same thing, if you'd pay $1 for a mug, you might forget that, especially if you have thousands of them, but if you would spend 10,000 USD on one mug, you are going to remember that for the rest of your life. So the more time people spend time reading through your thread, the more likely it is that every single one of those readers, including the artist, will check out your profile. And if you have everything correct from the previous steps, now they might actually follow you. And the thread will not only get you seen more, but it will give the artist a huge boost in dopamine. How huge? That actually depends. If they are an artist who has a few thousand followers on X or Instagram, probably an absolute massive kind of a dopamine boost. But if you make a thread about somebody who has, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of followers on X or Instagram, it might not be as massive. But everyone will get some sort of a dopamine boost from those. My friend Ben Scar made an amazing thread on Sam Spratt's art, whose art I absolutely love as well. I don't know, was he just being nice, or did he actually have the goal of connecting with Sam more through that thread? But the thread was a huge success. Not only did Sam love it, but many art lovers loved it, and then some of the biggest names in the whole entire NFT space, from art collectors and creators, they noticed that Ben had made this thread about Sam. For example, Cosimo de Medici. I have included the thread below if you want to check it out. Now, if you don't want to analyze somebody's content, you can still make a thread about a topic that actually interests you. For example, I made a larger thread on why 4 hours of work a day is enough to succeed. Now, I included 3 people in the thread, and I, of course, had them tagged. Why did I include them? Sure, to prove my point, I showed like, hey, they are like part-time people, and they have succeeded massively, so I had them to prove my own point. But then also to connect with them better. Make an effort for your already existing relationships, and make new effort for those friendships that you want to make. Those who put in effort will be more rewarded than those who do not bother to. 8. Share people's posts. But when you actually share somebody's work, make sure to include your own comments on this share. Sure, it's always nice if somebody shares your work just like that, but if they add their own comments, then it's totally like different level. On Instagram, you can do this by tagging them in a story. You maybe share their reel or a photo post, and then you add some of your own comments, like I love this by Tom, for example, and then you tag them in that story so that they can actually then repost that into their own stories. If you don't tag them, they can't do that on Instagram. And then on X, you can quote tweet a tweet, and then you can add your own comments that, like, I love what Dylan did with this photograph from Iceland, for example. Not only is this extremely nice, but it also gives them free testimonials. Every creator loves it when they get testimonials if they understand why testimonials are so powerful. So if you don't yet know, basically testimonials sell better compared to anything what you will ever say. For example, if you make a big investment or something, you want to read reviews from other people, what they have thought. If there's 0 reviews, you might be a bit skeptical, right? So when you are sharing a post with your own comments, 1, you give them free marketing material, which they appreciate. 2, you boost their dopamine. And 3, you stand out by sharing that way. Most don't bother putting in a few comments. 9. The main thing in networking. This point I'll keep very simple, because this point itself is very simple. Find what connects you two. That's how you bond. If you know the person you're wanting to connect with likes cars, but you don't like cars at all and you don't understand anything about them, Don't talk about cars, talk about something else. Sure, if they bring the topic of cars up, you can ask politely, like, why do you find cars interesting? But switch that topic as soon as possible, because that topic will not connect you to. Networking is all about finding the things that connect you to. Ignore the things that don't. This leads to our last step. 10. The most important thing in all networking. Don't pretend to be interested, be interested. People can see if you are writing a long comment just for them to get noticed. People aren't stupid, and I'm seeing this all the time. Maybe you have done this. Most of us in the NFT space have done it. And also on Instagram and many other platforms. People are desperate. And when you are desperate, nobody wants to check out your profile. Be actually curious. Ask on what you actually find interesting. For example, I love lore and mythology, and when somebody builds their own world, like Sam Spratt for example. I love his work, of course. It's mind-blowingly good. And that's why I compliment it often when I see it on my timeline. But what I love even more about Sam's work is the world he's building, the mythology and the lore and everything that goes into making this world of his own. And that's why I comment on that very often as well. When I met Sam in NFT NYC 2023, he actually recognized me, which I was not expecting. But I was wondering, like, how can this be? And I had commented a lot to his posts, so I'm 99.99% sure that it was that. And it wasn't because I was leaving basic GM posts. I had actually taken time to say why I love what he is doing with the mythology and lore, and most people don't talk about that. Most people talk about the art, which I'm sure he loves it when people talk about his art. But when you compliment something that isn't as popular, such as the lore that he's doing, then that stands out more, and that even can mean more to the person himself. The same thing could be said for many other connections that I have made in the last 2 years, is that I stand out by actually saying what I personally find interesting. Not like following the crowds on like saying what they find interesting. Me being me is me being unique and me standing out. Ask or comment on things you find cool or interesting. Everyone is unique, nobody is exactly similar to you. So ask things that what you care about, and that's how you get unique answers from the people. Or then if they don't answer, at least they more likely notice you because of that unique comment. Be you, don't pretend to care if you don't ask what you want to ask. So, what next? Now you know a lot about how to network online, congrats. But guess what's even better than online networking? Yes, in-person networking. Online networking is amazing. Not gonna lie, it is absolutely incredible. You can basically, in theory, reach anyone you like who is on Earth, no matter how famous. But often as it is the case, those people who could change your life are incredibly busy, and they do not spend that much time going through their notifications or being on social media overall. That's why you want to embrace networking face to face in real life. The bad news is that it's totally different game from online networking. Sure, there are things that overlap, like boosting dopamine and showing interest. But for example, did you know that 80% of your first impression is non-verbal? Yes, that means that they have made 80% of their mind on who you are as a person before they have shared a single word with you. A single word. That's why one needs to study it separately. And of course you need to be able to carry the conversations in that moment. Online you have endless amount of time to basically get back to somebody's comment or a DM. But when you're face to face, you need to be able to know how to make the other person interested and care about what you have to say, especially if they're famous and everybody speaks to them all the time, and overall how to carry on the conversation forward. Real life networking is definitely a challenge, which is why I absolutely obsessed about it, because I was so bad at it. For a very long time I was an extremely shy kid, and I knew that I just had to get over that, and I obsessed on learning from books and courses and YouTube videos and podcasts and you name it. I was able to gather the skills that have pushed me much forward and gotten me to places that just blow my mind, and I have made more connections and more cool connections than I thought I could ever make. I want that you can do the same as I have done, and even more, and that's why I'm hosting a live training called Social Mastery later this month. and you'll get a recording if you can't make it there live. My promise is that after the training, you will get more opportunities, get paid more / get more sales, be able to be confident in social situations. No longer will you painfully watch opportunities slip by your fingers as you didn't know how to approach someone, have extremely awkward conversations, make terrible first impressions, and miss out on great connections. Plus more. Basically, I'm sharing everything I know about networking with you in this training. This way you don't need to go through the same pain as I did to acquire all of these skills. There's a link for Social Mastery below. Make sure to enroll before I close the enrollments, and they are closing real soon. If you can't make it for any reason, no problem. I'm gonna be making these YouTube videos every week and bring you free value. Make sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed and found this valuable. This video took me insanely long to make, so I would really appreciate it. And yeah, see you then next week, my friends.